welcome to Dpad Experience presents Marvel Champions. Dpad Experience is a weekly video game podcast found on all podcast platforms. Today, we are going to be taking a look at...
Here's what I found.
Not you, Siri. We are going to be taking a look at Ironheart. Ironheart is one of the new heroes out currently. Depending on when you're watching this, she might be old. Let's see what we get in Ironheart's box. So I was not, if you listen to my Nova video, I was not looking forward to Ironheart either. Ironheart is a really good ally to play because you can draw a card, but I wasn't really interested in this character until I played her because she's extremely fun. So the first thing we need to see is that Ironheart comes with three different forms. All right. They all have the same alter ego. So the alter ego side does the same thing no matter what. Actually, that's not true. The version 2 does something a little different, which I've actually not noticed. All right, anywho. So let's take a look at what version 1 does. So we have Riri Williams, right? She has a recovery of 3. And you begin the game with this card. So this is the one that you start with. Everything else you're going to put to the side for now. So let's see what version 1 does. Child Prodigy. Spend 1 mental resource. Place 1 progress counter on Riri Williams. Limit once per round. She loves to flip. She's going to want to flip a lot to get those progress counters on her so that she can upgrade her suit. So when she has a hand size of 6 and 10 hit points. When she turns into Ironheart Phase 1, it's a 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 defense. I like that line a lot. You know, she's got a decent attack, incredibly strong defense, and her level up removes 6 progress counters from Ironheart and ready her and swap version 2 with Ironheart. So once you get 6 progress counters on here, you can level up to version 2. This is not the only way to gain progress counters. She does have cards that allow her to gain progress counters as well. So that's version 1. Version 2, when she upgrades. So now I'm learning this. So it said spend 1 mental resource on version 1. Version 2... Okay, so version 1, you had to spend 1 mental resources. I see the difference already. She still has a 3 recovery, right? Same hand size, same health. Child Prodigy, spend 1 mental resource or 2 resources of any type and place 1 progress counter on her. So the difference is that it does not just need to be a mental resource. You can use any 2 resources to gain a progress counter. She gets a little bit stronger. She gains 1 thwart, making her a 2-2-3. Really good base stats there. And once her action is level up, remove 6 progress counters from her, ready her, and give her a tough status card and swap her to version 3. So if you can get another 6 on here, you're going to ready her and level her up and get a tough status card. So what does her final form look like? Child Prodigy. So again, same recovery, same hand size, same health on the alter ego. Child Prodigy, spend 1 resource of any type, so spend anything and place 1 progress counter on her. So now we're just generating progress counters like nothing. Now she's got a 3 thwart. So her thwart went up from 1 to 3. So it's a 3-2-3, which is insane. All right. Maximum efficiency, hero form, hero action. Remove 1 progress counter from Ironheart and deal 2 damage to an enemy. There is no exhaust here. There is nothing telling us we can do this more than once. If you can get those progress counters up in her 3rd form, you can just deal massive damage. So here's what her regular cards look like. We have 2 copies of Flyover. Okay. Flyover is a thwart. You remove 3 threat from a scheme and place 1 progress counter on Ironheart. 2 progress counters instead if this removes the last threat from that scheme. So I really like playing her with a Justice deck because of that. personally. Justice is my favorite deck to play because I play True Solo a lot, all the time. But 2 cost event, remove 3 threat from the scheme and a progress counter, or 2. Solid. We have 3 copies of Photon Beam. Photon Beam. It's an attack. It deals 4 damage to an enemy and place 1 progress counter on Ironheart, or 2 progress counters if it defeats that enemy. So this is really good if you get some minions out. But 2 cost event for 4 damage and a progress counter, yes please. New and improved. 2 copies of this. This is a 3 cost event. This has been beneficial. This is beneficial late game, okay? Not so much early game for the most part. So hero action, choose X different options where X is equal to her version number. So if it's early in the game, you only get to pick one of these, right? But if it's late in the game and you're version 3, you get to use all 3 of these abilities, which are either search your deck for an Ironheart card and add it to your hand, then shuffle. Give Ironheart a tough status card and ready Ironheart. So if this is, you have her in phase 3, you get to do all 3 for 3 cost. Wild, right? If it's early in the game and she's only phase 1, that's a lot to pay for only one of these. So early in game, I like to just use this as a resource to pay for things. 1 copy of Sector Scan. I have not used this effectively yet, but I've read how to use this well. So you reduce the cost to play Sector Scan by X, where X is her version number, right? So depending on what version number she is, this could be a free event. And until the end of the round, you may look at the top card of the encounter deck at any time. This didn't make sense to me. I didn't really see the benefit until I started reading like, oh, you know, you can look at the next card in the encounter deck whenever you want, meaning before your turn is over, right? So you can start to prepare for the next hand. Or, so it's the end of the round, meaning that when the villain is done with all their last encounter cards, you can look at the next one, right? You can see what the modifier is going to be and plan for it. So this is actually not that bad, but I haven't used it effectively. We have an ally. We have Braun, who is a 4-cost ally, and my playstyle doesn't really call for playing such costly allies, but he's so good. So he's 2 thwart, 3 attack, and 3 health, and that 3 attack is only a 1 damage to him, which is solid. And while he's exhausted, he gains 1 mental resource, and that's a mental resource. Don't forget what Riri Williams needed, especially in the beginning of the game, to bring the progress counters on, right? You need a mental resource. So if you attack with Braun, you get to have a mental resource. Love that card. I try to get that out all the time. Then we have upgrades. These upgrades you want to play as soon as you get them. These are really what make Ironheart fantastic. This is a 2-cost card, right? You get +2 hit points. You exhaust the propulsion jets, and remove threat equal to Ironheart's version number. So late in the game, you're just exhausting this for a 3 removal of 3 threat. That's great, right? Similarly, we have the attack version, 2-cost upgrade for the photon blasters. You get +2 hit points, so that's bringing her hit point total up to 14, right? If you're doing the math along with me. Exhaust photon blasters, deal damage equal to her version number, 3 damage all the time. Great upgrades. You want to play those upgrades all the time. We have Ronnie Williams, one copy of Ronnie Williams, which is a 1-cost support. This is great. I love getting this early or anytime. Once I get this, this always goes down. It's priority for me. So you need to be an alter ego. You exhaust Ronnie Williams and either choose to heal 2 damage from Riri or place 1 progress counter on her. So this is great when you want to swap, right? If you're taking some damage, this is some free recovery or progress counter, which could equal damage. Tony Stark's AI, 2-cost support. This is okay. It depends on when I get this and what's in my hand. I've used this as either a resource to pay for something, or I've played it depending on where I was at. You exhaust this and look at the top 2 cards from your deck, add 1 to your hand and discard the other. So it's basically a draw 1 card, and I like it. It's just hard for me to play depending on where I'm at in the game. And then we have 2 copies of Stroke of Genius, right, which is a resource card, and once you spend this, you place 1 progress counter on your identity and draw a card. Fantastic, right? Free progress counter, draw a card after playing this resource. Love that. Now let's take a look at her negatives, as in what goes into the encounter deck. We have her obligation, a minor setback. You remove 1 progress counter from your identity, then discard this card. Honestly, out of all the obligations, that's really not bad. I always have a progress counter on, so that's really just literally a minor setback and not a big deal. However, if you have no progress counters, right, and no progress counters removed, you do yourself 1 encounter face down encounter card, and then shuffle this back into the deck. So just make sure you have a progress counter on you, and this is nothing. Then we have her Nemesis set, which I haven't seen yet because I haven't drawn Shadows of the Past with her, so this is the first time I'm seeing this. So we have Rule by Force. This is the side scheme. While Lucia von Bardas is in play, this card gains Hazard, the Hazard icon. So that is Lucia von Bardas is the her Nemesis. Okay. So once the Nemesis comes out, which would be in play right away because you're getting with Shadows of the Past, this card gains a Hazard icon. So this has 4 threat on it, and while Lucia von Bardas is not in play, this gains an acceleration icon. So this is you're gonna want to take this out right away. All right, you're either gonna get an encounter card or an acceleration card, and that's not that good. So here is Lucia von Bardas, right? She has 4 health, 2 schemes, 1 attack, and when she has a tough status card, she gets +1/+1, making her a bit stronger. Force response. After the phase ends, there it is, give her a tough status card. So as soon as she gets into play, you're going to want to get her off the board right away. We have Cyborg Tech, attached to the minion with the most traits. If you cannot, this card gains Surge. Oh, I love Surge. Attached to the minion, the attached minion gets +3 hit points and gains Retaliate +1, and it's a +1 attack. Or if you get this as a boost and you deal yourself, you deal this to yourself as a face down counter card. So whenever you get this, this is coming up. Don't like that. We have a Treachery. When revealed, if Lucia von Bardas is in play, she schemes. If Rule by Force is in play, which is, I'm assuming that was the side scheme, you place 3 threat on it. If neither is in play, this card gains Surge. So this is a rough Nemesis set, and there's 2 of these in here. I've noticed that the Nemesis sets are getting pretty strong. Nova had a pretty decent one against him as well. So yeah, I don't like those Nemesis sets. That makes Shadow of the Past even worse. So let's see what comes in her pre-deck, which I believe is a leadership deck. So we have a copy of Vivian, who is a basic ally, 2 cost, 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 health. Hero response: after Vivian enters play, choose an attachment, a non-elite minion, or non-permanent side scheme. Until the end of the round, that card's text are treated as blank, except for traits. Not bad. Not my favorite, but not bad. We have Snowguard, who's a 4 cost ally with 0 threat and 0 attack. I wonder why. Let's see. He's got 3 health. So after Snowguard enters play, it says place up to 3 shift counters here. While the shift counters are equal to X, she gets... So in layman's terms, you basically just pick one of these when you bring Snowguard into play, which is +3 attack and overkill, +3 thwart and aerial, or what I personally like is the +5 hit points and 1 retaliate, making this an 8 health retaliate 1 defensive card. So that's usually the one I've been going with. Agent 13, don't like this card. We've seen this in the past. This is a 4 cost ally, a little too rich for my blood. 2 thwart, 1 attack for health. Response: after Agent 13 attacks or thwarts, you choose a shield support and ready that support. I'm usually not playing shield support, so Not my favorite card. We have Go for Champions. Max 1 per deck, and only if your identity has the champion trait. Hero action, each champion character cannot take damage until the end of the round. So if you've got a nice board going on, some allies, this is really, really solid. I love this. So we got 3 of these. Ingenuity. I make sure my Ironheart deck always has these. So this is play only if you have the Genius trait. I'm looking at you, Peter Parker. You can use this too. Max 1 per player. Exhaust the Ingenuity. Generate a mental resource. Fantastic card. Fantastic card. Really cheap. It's like the broke person's helicarrier, or like the Avengers one. So I love that. Speaking of helicarrier, we have a helicarrier in the deck. We know what this is. We've seen this before. Now let's get to the leadership cards. We have Cloud9, 3 cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 health. Hero action, exhaust Cloud9 and choose a player until the end of the phase. Each aerial character that player controls gets +1 thwart. So we're getting some stuff we can do with aerial heroes here. We have another 3 cost ally, Patriot, 2 thwart, but 2 consequential damage for that. 1 attack, 4 health. Hero response, after Patriot enters play, choose a champion character, and that character gains +1 to each of its basic powers until the end of the round. Not bad at all. And our last ally we get is Falcon, 4 cost ally, again, a little rich for my blood, but 1 thwart, 2 attack with 3 health. Hero response, after he attacks or thwarts, spend an energy resource and ready another champion character you control. So even though it's expensive, if you can get this out, you can be attacking a lot. So we have 3 copies of Morale Boost, which I've seen before and didn't know why this came with 3, but after playing with this specific deck, it's really good in this specific deck. So until choose a hero until the end of that round. That hero gains +1 to all basic abilities. And this works really, really well because of this card. Go All Out. We got 3 of these in here, right? Let's see what Go All Out does. Go All Out. Requirement, you must use an energy resource to pay for this, right? Exhaust your hero and deal damage to an enemy equal to the total value of thwart, attack, and defense. If you get Ironheart into phase 3 and get even like that morale boost on, oh my god, this is insane. We have 3 copies of Push Ahead. What do you do, Push Ahead? Requirement is a mental resource. This is a thwart, exhaust your hero, and remove threat equal to the total thwart, attack, or defensive values. This is the opposite, really, really good as well. So I love what's going on with these leadership decks right here because I haven't been a big fan of leadership. This might change my mind. We have a 3 cost support, research, and R&D facility. You need 2 mental resources to use this, okay? And you exhaust this and remove 1 research count. You exhaust this and remove 1 research counter from it. Sorry, this starts with 3 research counters. You remove 1 from it and choose a friendly character in play, and that character gets +1 and +1 thwart, +1 attack until the end of the phase. So this is really, really beefing up that Go All Out card if you can get those all in play. Then we have 2 Power of Leadership, which we've seen before. Last but not least, we have 2 cards that we can add to other decks. We have Pinpoint, which I love. So Protection is like one of my favorite types to play. This is a 2 cost ally, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 2 health, right? That 2 attack has 2 consequential damage, so you attack once with her and she's done. However, you can play if your identity has a champion trait, and let's see what you do. When a player card would be placed into the discard pile, you exhaust Pinpoint and shuffle into the owner's deck. I love that. I love that in a defense deck, and I haven't had a chance to use this, but I'm so excited to try this out. And we have Wasp, which is kind of weak. So she's 2 costs, right, to play. She's got a 2 thwart with 2 consequential damage, 1 attack, 3 health. And you can only play her if you have the champion trait, right? And she ignores the guard keyword, patrol keyword, and crisis icon. Very situational. Don't love it. I doubt this will make it into a majority of my decks. Then, for the first time, we are getting, well, I mean, Nova came with this as well, but they're also giving us another modular set to add to the encounter decks, right? And I like that. So I haven't looked at these at all yet. This is the first time I'm actually looking at these. So let's see what these do. I know the one that came with Nova, the Armadillo, was insanely hard. So this is called Zaz. Zax? I don't know who this is. ZZAX. Never heard of this person. So we have feedback loop side scheme. When revealed, each player must place threat here equal to the total number of energy resources in their hand and cards they control. So if you have an really strong energy deck, this is going to suck, and it gains an acceleration token. It puts an acceleration token on the main scheme. Then we have the villain, Zax, and he gets, so he's got 2 scheme, 2 attack, but we have something going on with that attack, okay? And let's see, he's got 4 health. He gets plus X attack and plus X hit points, where X is equal to the total number of energy resources on the cards, that engage with the player with controls. So if you have a lot of energy resources in control, he's getting a bit stronger. And if you have at least 2 energy resources in your hand, you put this dude engaged into play with you. That's the boost. So pretty mildly strong minion, depending on what your hand looks like. So we have 2 copies of this Haywire attachment. You attach it to your identity and you treat the printed resource of each card in your hand as if it were an energy resource. So this kind of sucks. So if you get this out, right, and you get one of the other cards, this is going to make things very difficult. Hero action, choose to either discard a card you control with a printed energy resource or take 2 direct damage, discard this card. Pretty easy way to get this off, so that's not that bad. We have Air Static, which is an environment. When the villain phase begins, deal 2 indirect damage to each player with an energy resource in their hand or a card they control. So yeah, again, this is focusing on energy specific decks, and the hero action is to either discard a card you control with an energy resource or take 2 indirect damage. Pretty easy way to get that off as well. We have 2 copies of Zap, which is a treachery. When revealed, I bet it has something to do with an energy resource. It sure does. Take indirect damage equal to the total number of energy resources in your hand. If your identity was dealt 1 or fewer damage, this card gains Surge. This is pretty deadly. So overall, that extra modular, it's definitely not as hard as that Armadillo that came with the Nova deck, but it's, just reading it out loud off the top of my head, I'm going to say it's medium difficulty. So that is Ironheart. And after playing Ironheart a couple times, I think she's fantastic. The fact that she comes with an additional modular set and just how fun it is to upgrade her, it just makes her a must-buy. She is definitely a must-buy. Came out of nowhere for me. Love how she plays. Extremely fun. And I'm not a big fan of leadership, but the cards that came in this leadership deck really made me appreciate using a leadership deck and just what it could do, and especially the new things that the leadership decks can do with the cards that came in this. So I highly recommend Ironheart. 10 out of 10 should pick up. Just fantastic. Really fun. And hope you enjoyed Ironheart.